This time around on Author's Corner, and he's in our virtual green room, is William Cooke. He's a professor at Michigan State University, and he's written this powerful book with two others who have, and all three, huge backgrounds in negotiations, very specific negotiations. But I think it's a book really that anyone could read because there's so much that people miss in period negotiating. So the name of the book is Negotiating High Performance Focused Partnerships, the 5 Stages of Effective Labor Management Negotiations. And as I said, here on America Tonight on AC, we have William Cooke. We're going to go to him in a minute. 2 other authors, John D. Butler and Thomas D. Posey, also throw in here. And it's, like I said, the experience between all of them, I don't think any book out there even touches it. And trust me, I talked to a lot of people, and even in this field. And so it is pretty fantastic. William Cooke, Bill, thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thank you, Kate, for the invitation. And I'm very pleased to be on your radio show.
So tell me about the road to writing this book and your background in negotiating specifically, and what you found with when we look at all the strikes that are going on, all the things that are happening with unions, what you and your partners were able to come together and assess.
Sure. John Butler and I met many years ago when I was at the University of Michigan, the business school, and my dean said, go develop a negotiations course in union management, contract negotiations. And John at the time was a senior director of labor relations for North America for General Motors. And that became a very popular program way back when. He then took a job later in Europe for Textron as their chief HR officer and executive vice president worldwide. And so later on, we get back in touch with each other. I ended up taking a job here at Michigan State University and went ahead and continued providing, professional development around negotiations. And I had met a colleague, my co-author, Tom Posey, and he actually helped me train managers and a few executives and some union leaders in these development programs we had. Well, the three of us then got to talking and said, we got to write a book because this has all been in executive ed. I've trained over 5,500 managers and union leaders over the years. And never have written it. It's all been in outlines and presented in these, professional development courses. So 3 of us got together and said, we got to write a book, and it's got to be real. You can't find anything like this book, frankly. And so we just drew on all of our experiences, and we knew we thought a lot alike. So it was a matter of writing it in a way, as both John and Tom imposed on me. You got to write for the real world, Bill. You can't write a textbook. Hardly anybody's going to read it. So it has been written in a way to kind of engage the reader in real life dialogue of meetings between the fictitious chief HR officer and her company's top executives, her site managers, and local negotiation teams, as she walks them through what we call 5 stages of effective labor management negotiations. So that's how this thing came about.
Yeah, and the 5 stages. What are the 5 stages?
Okay, let me give you a very abbreviated, bare bones coverage,
Sure,
given the limited time that we have. So what you have here, stage 1 is all about strategy with a focus on aligning human resource and labor relations strategies with high performance focused business strategies. And this alignment emphasizes the 3 basic requirements underlying high performance workplace systems, namely efficiency and flexibility and employee commitment to high performance. Management, of course, is primarily interested in achieving the first 2 requirements, and that is eliminating inefficiencies to improve productivity and reduce cost, as well as having the flexibility to reassign work and adjust hours and employment levels in response to fluctuating business conditions. However, and very importantly, to achieve these two basic requirements of high-performance workplace systems, management needs to optimize workforce commitment and contributions to achieving and sustaining high performance. Hence, companies must create workplace systems that optimize such commitment. Here, companies need to foster teamwork, employee engagement, and problem solving, and create a culture of fair and equitable treatment, along with trust that management truly cares about the well-being of employees. In addition, management needs to offer competitive wages and benefits, as well as employment security to the extent it can. As partners with unions, management also needs to agree to some form of gain sharing based on improvements in performance. My simple point is that if you're going to work together to bake a larger pie as partners, you need to share the added fruits of your hard work in a fair and equitable way. If management doesn't structure its workplace system accordingly, it simply won't get the commitment from employees that it needs to achieve and sustain high performance. In short, if union members don't see management's commitment to them, why would management expect employees to be committed to its primary objective of improving performance? In short, commitment must go both ways. Now, to create these partnerships, it's on management, frankly, to initiate them and go about convincing their union leaders and union members that it is in their own best interest towards maximizing their own priority objectives to partner with management. Then it's through the next four stages of negotiations that we address how to negotiate high-performance focused partnerships. Stage 2 focuses on preparation planning. That includes the extensive preparation work required in identifying and assessing the state of the company's competitiveness, corporate's investment footprint, and the primary pre-negotiation issues concerning unions. And based on this compilation of information is the development and planning of local negotiation strategies, including preparing the rationale for management proposals and their responses to union demands. Stage 3 is about the opening context of negotiations that addresses preparing management teams for understanding the dynamics of bargaining, as well as understanding union dynamics at the table that arise out of the democratic and political nature of unions. Also essential to effective negotiations is preparing opening statements that set the entire stage for bargaining by demonstrating management's authenticity and legitimacy, which is achieved by thoroughly framing and justifying its rationale for what it seeks to accomplish in reaching a final agreement. Stage 4 focuses on the back and forth dynamics of bargaining. For negotiating partnerships, we emphasize the mutual value of using interest-based bargaining. This is a process of finding win-win solutions and constructive compromises to bake a larger pie together. Essentially, this kind of bargaining gets to the very roots of why either party wants to change something in a contract. Here, management needs to identify the union's underlying interests tied to union demands, and importantly, the union's perceived problems it wants to eliminate, problems that have led to its demands. Management likewise needs to share its own underlying interests for seeking change, as well as the perceived problems it wants to eliminate. And let me add, any changes proposed by one party or the other is likely to create new perceived problems for the other party. In any case, by laying out these respective underlying interests and perceived problems candidly and in full view, the parties then engage in brainstorming in a search for possible win-win solutions that best satisfy each party's underlying interest and eliminate or minimize those perceived problems. Now, when the parties can't find those win-win solutions, there's always, as you know, the devil in the details. The parties are at least armed with the rationale and understanding to reach the best constructive compromises that minimize underlying problems and optimize the interest of both parties. Now, in stage 4, the parties move into the first and subsequent rounds of bargaining over so-called non-economic union demands and company initiatives. And although any changes to a contract have some economic consequences, the focus here is on issues that address language around procedures and processes. For example, around high-performance workplace systems or employment security or restrictions on subcontracting out bargaining unit work. Obviously, the introduction of new technologies and the like. Now, these kinds of changes get negotiated one by one, wherein the parties attempt to reach tentative agreements on each item, okay? And they bank it, it's tentative, they can always go back to it because the union has not heard what management's going to offer later in economics.
All right, so once again, we're speaking with William Cooke. The name of the book is Negotiating High-Performance Focused Partnerships, the 5 Stages of Effective Labor Management Negotiations. So applicable, I think, right now. I mean, it's always been, but especially when you really start to look around and see these strikes and see what's happening between the unions and management, obviously specifically addressed in this book. So we'll be back with more coming up on the flip side. All right, we're talking about something really important where you talk about, labor, and we're talking about the employees through, the unions that represent them, which we see so huge playing out on the world stage these days. The name of the book is Negotiating High-Performance Focused Partnerships, the 5 Stages of Effective Labor Management Negotiations, as we continue here with William Cooke. And we look at the other angles, especially when Bill, you're talking about what then happens with concerns over employees and then how they perform, right?
We also address union resistance to adopting high-performance workplace systems that are sought by management and how best to resolve these concerns and perceived problems with such, the initiatives, in this case, high-performance workplaces. For example, unions fear the loss of jobs from increased productivity. Increased productivity, maybe we don't need as many employees, or perceived management by stress just to speed up production, and as well as just being co-opted by management to, just as they say, go along to get along. Now, given these kinds of union concerns, it becomes essential that local joint steering committees serve as the focal point and the sounding board in order to monitor how things are going around these concerns, and in turn, be charged with making adjustments as the parties go through this transition to high-performance workplace systems over the life of a contract. The last stage, stage 5, is the closing stage of negotiations as the parties pivot to bargain over economic packages of wages, benefits, and other big ticket items. And here the focus is on how best to make, incremental improvements, typically over only 3 to 5 moves, emphasizing that no one item in that package will be agreed to until all the items are agreed to in that final offer that gets made. It's during this final stage that management must be open to making trade-offs, among items in that economic package that can best satisfy the union priorities, and do that without exceeding pre-planned bottom line cost of the final offers the company feels it can make. In making its final offer, management must furthermore go all the way to making its best offer, not leaving anything it planned to offer off the table. If the union turns down that final offer, you don't want your employees going out on strike without knowing your true bottom line offer. At the same time, management must be prepared to take a strike over its last best final offer. And if management flinches and ups its offer, sort of like Boeing and the what the big three did, okay,
Mhm.
management shows it can't be a trusted partner, at least in the sense that it had more to give its employees than what it did. We also address how best to bring unions back to the bargaining table when unions go out on strike. And here the primary focus is on how to repackage and make further trade-offs in that final offer to get to the heart of the union's rejection of that offer. So I close here with, emphasizing that our view is that worthy opponents make worthy partners. And worthy opponents are exceptionally well prepared. They understand the 5 stages of negotiating, how to bargain effectively to find possible win-win solutions and constructive compromises. And of course, both parties can see the mutual benefit of creating genuine and lasting partnerships that optimize the gains to both labor and manage.
So when
So that,
people, yeah,
go ahead.
that's the whole that's the whole thing. It's so well said, well done. In just listening to the things that we talked about off the air and what you've talked about here, when people read this book, Negotiating High Performance Focused Partnerships: The 5 Stages of Effective Labor Management Negotiations, and we see the breakdowns. You gave the examples of the big three, saying, hey, that's what we're seeing, and Boeing. What do you hope the takeaway is here?
The takeaway is recognizing this unabated, unforgivable global competition that can rip into any company and have effect not only on all their profitability but all the employees who can lose jobs and the like. And that recognizing that is, let's think through it. What is the best strategy for your company? When you have unionized localities and the like. And do that homework long in advance. I'm dumbfounded, frankly, when I watch fairly closely the Detroit three automakers. They make a final offer at around 10% or 11% in wages and some other stuff. And the union, the auto workers go out on strike. And lo and behold, they can move from that final offer of 10% to 25% increase in wages. And oh, by the way, cost of living allowances that weren't going to be part of it. And I think Boeing has been surprised that, from what I read anyhow, they made that kind of initial final offer about 10% over 4 years or something. And now they're up to 25 and 30% after the machinists went out on strike. You don't do that. You didn't plan well. You didn't really look closely at that kind of the pre-negotiation issues for unions. So if you can abruptly move that quickly, you just wasted a lot of resources and incurring strikes and the like. And you're not creating a partnership when you do that. So that's one of the things to take away.
Yeah, I think that's it. That in a nutshell, everything that you just said there. Obviously, Bill, we could go on and on and on and eat up this entire show, but it's been wonderful, and I think so pertinent. You nailed it at the end. Why do we care? And the way that you did this, we do care. When you think of the global implications and to the people here in the United States, and the ways negotiations are done and poorly, magically, how they suddenly can come back with what they initially wanted in the first place, and creating those hard feelings and creating that you against them and us and we that is not necessary.
It's not. That's very well said, Kate. I couldn't agree with you more.
All right. Well, excellent book, Negotiating High Performance Focused Partnerships: The 5 Stages of Effective Labor Management Negotiations. You can snap it up on Amazon or wherever great books are sold. Bill Cooke, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you very much, Kate. It was my pleasure.
All right, so fascinating to me in looking at how vital the negotiating part of it is, where it seems, wouldn't this be simple? Wouldn't it be, we know our people, we know the people we're working with. But as Bill and I talked about, it's such an individual thing. Everybody looks at things collectively different and then versus individually, and it's the representation of all the individuals as one in the union. So that's why there's so much at stake. And that's why it's so important, I think all of these negotiating strategies, looking at the stages, looking at how to be effective, especially in a world that is ever changing. Whereas we mentioned there, it depends on, what we're talking about. We're talking about machinists of all different sorts. Are we talking about the airlines industry? Are we talking about the automotive industry? Are we talking about some other industry? And in knowing that context and putting it through those 5 stages of contract negotiations, of course, the idea is to align the human capital, the human resources, and those techniques, those negotiating strategies with bigger business objectives for making sure you optimize the workplace performance and also have that competitiveness at the level that you want it. And it comes down to the dynamics of negotiations, as he talked about there. It talks about emphasizing the meticulous planning and preparation, because I think sometimes some of that gets lost in it. It's about the discussions, the open discussions. It's about some of the really important, incredibly crucial final stages of achieving agreements, not walking away, not going back again and coming back again. And ultimately what that costs the union and the people in the union, and what that costs the corporation that we're talking about too, the entity that we're talking about. So building those truly, truly authentic partnerships, the union management partnerships. How do you get to that? Anyway, I think it's completely fascinating, especially in the world of negotiating. Unbelievable. And I'll say it again, the book is called Negotiating High Performance Focused Partnerships, the 5 Stages of Effective Labor Management Negotiations. We thank him for coming on the show, and we thank all of
Visit us at www.greatwritersmedia.com. Email us at info@greatwritersmedia.com or call us at +1 877 556 0487.